each of us can say a little something just to be sure the mic is working.
Banana.
A bit more.
More bananas, blah, 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 boom, boom.
A plethora of bananas.
Oh, yeah. It's much better.
Perfect.
Radio Turku. Suomen Turku.
So the very holy jingle. This new jingle has been composed by Nähty production, if you are looking for them. Thank you, Nähty production. And now we are going to introduce ourselves a bit quickly. Who are we? Why we came to Finland? Because today we're going to discuss a bit about what it is like to be an immigrant in Finland. This is our main topic of the day, even if we will discuss about a lot of other things. Simon, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Simon, the same Simon as in the previous two season, and I am still a French linguist living in Finland. I've been living in Finland for like 6 years.
Okay, Jimmy, can you introduce yourself? You're the guest of the day.
Well, look at that. Well, I am Jimmy, the guest of today. I came here to Finland in 2020 with my family in the hopes of realizing a good quality of life. I am currently a business development consultant, a father, and a dashing husband.
How do you define dashing?
Dashing, well, you know, it's a person or an individual that's quick on his feet, charming, witty, very much in touch with other people's emotions and sensibilities, and yeah, I think that's a pretty good definition of it.
Lucky wife.
Yeah, very flattering portrait.
She's probably shaking her head right now. She could just hear me say stuff like that, like, what is he getting up to in this place?
Yeah, actually, I'm curious, how did you meet your wife and in which country?
Wow. Okay, that's a story. We might need a separate podcast for that story, but I'll keep it very brief.
Let's go.
Okay, so back in 2012, I was sitting in my New York apartment with not much to do, and I had a friend of mine that said, "Hey, Jimmy, do you want to go out for a happy hour?" And I was like, "No, man, come on. You know, I'm just kind of like in my zone. I'm self-reflecting." He's like, "No, come on." So he drags me out of my house, and I go to a happy hour. And then 12 years later, I find myself with 2 kids, a mortgage, married to a Finnish woman, and it's like the most expensive happy hour I've ever been to. And it feels like I'm still on it. But I met my now wife then, salsa dancing, and she's an amazing dancer. So then we kind of hit it off, and she told me about Finland and how wonderful it is to live here, and complained a little about the weather, but ultimately, if we were going to have a family, this was the place to be. And so far, that's been true.
Yeah, I think for families, it's really nice, especially when the kids are very young. And I think it's pretty cool to think that you met, like, it looks like it's a cliche, foreign men who have been brought to Finland by a Finnish woman.
Yeah,
so
there's a club.
many.
It happened to
There's a
all
club.
of us.
There's a club. We meet every Wednesday. But yeah, I see that a lot here. Actually, many of the friends that I've made here either arrived because of their partner or for work. So yeah, it's very common.
Okay. I made you introduce yourself in a longer way because I thought you had an interesting history how you came to Finland.
Okay.
But just to finish with this introduction, I will also present myself. I'm Noémie, and so I will be the co-host of this podcast. I'm soon to be graduate in English language and literature. Let's see. And I just finished a long project that was almost 1 year long, where I was making a podcast for Study in Finland, which is an organization that helps international students in their life in Finland. And so I produced a podcast, What's Next Finland? It's the first time in my life I'm paid to do a media production, so it was really cool, but I'm currently unemployed.
Oh, no.
And so that's why I have more time to do this new season. And Let's hope that you will enjoy this chiller mood. We are going to move on directly with a small game that I prepared for today to warm us up a
Alright.
bit.
To get to know each other better.
I'm not sure. No.
You don't know, I mean, I don't know Jimmy yet, so and we need to explore the depth
Let's
of-
say that this game is more to get to know Finland better.
Oh, good. Yeah,
Because
I'm all for that.
I
Definitely.
do you know the newspaper called Iltalehti?
Oh, yes.
So you-
Sadly.
Is that the tabloid one? That's like
Exactly.
plastered all over the supermarket windows?
Yeah. I think that's
Exactly.
what they call the yellow pages in Finland because it's
Oh.
always
Flashy.
it's always in a yellow signboard.
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I think that's why.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Okay, then you have an idea about what is going to happen. I'm going to give you titles, and you
Okay.
are going to tell me if they are true or if I invented them.
Oh, that's so hard.
It's gonna be hard
It's
because
so
sometimes
hard.
their title are
I
wild.
know, it's like a Facebook post.
Yes,
yeah.
by your grandpa.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Martian stealing your mail, question mark, and you're like, oh man. Yes, let's.
Yeah, and when I prepared them, I was really laughing too much alone, and I tested them with my boyfriend, and I was laughing every time to the ones that were the real ones. So he guessed all of them. I hope that now I'm prepared. I will be better at telling them.
Did you make up them all or did you use ChatGPT?
No, I made them all.
Oh,
I was
Okay.
inspired. Okay. Let's start with quote. I told them it was too spicy. End of the quote. Riot in a Turku restaurant after a buffet provokes terrible stomach pain.
Well, I've heard about spiciness in Finnish folks, how there's like a very mild level that has to be kept here on all store shelves. So I'm tempted to say that's true.
well, I have heard how spicy Finnish people are, but I don't know. Well, just for the sake of the game, I will say that's not true because it sounds a bit too easy.
Okay. Yeah, I worked myself in a Chinese restaurant, and often people complain that it was too spicy or that the coffee was too strong. And I was
Yeah,
like, and
yeah.
it's only water. Like, but it was false. I
Oh,
invented it. Sorry.
Okay.
Simon knows me a bit, so he might find it easier. Okay, second one. Helsinki-Vantaa has a catastrophic situation. Dash. Even the police was there.
I would say that's true because there are not even enough details.
Yeah, maybe they
about
want to
what
rope
happens.
you in.
So yeah, it really sounds like what we would call in French putaclic. What?
Clickbait.
Clickbait.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Except in French, we added the word for whore. But
It's like it's calling out.
yeah, I would say
Very
that's true.
tantalizing. Okay. I guess for the sake of clicks and views, that could be true.
It was true.
Okay,
And
okay,
there
yeah.
were so many articles about that Helsinki-Vantaa catastrophic
What
situation.
was the catastrophe?
It's
too?
just that the scanner for the luggages were stuck, so people waited longer for their...
Well, that's the catastrophe to make people
But-
wait.
But even the police was there. And that was like, it's so exceptional. Okay, third one. Such destruction was caused by a shirtless rioter in a hotel room.
Was that a translation for the P. Diddy stuff or no?
I cannot say.
I almost had you. You're like, I don't know. So you said he was shirtless?
Yeah.
Was this in the summer?
I don't know anything about
So
this.
can you repeat the headline?
Yeah. I wanna-
Such destruction was caused by a shirtless rioter in a hotel room.
It's actually pretty hard because that
I
could
know,
totally be
right?
true.
Could have been doing Vappu, and I would have been like, I would believe it. I'm gonna go with true.
Yeah, I would say that could be true.
I'm just gonna consider myself a believer during this whole game.
Yeah.
I need to hide my face, but it was true.
Oh,
and the article was really incredible because it was illustrated by pictures of the
Of a half-naked man.
Was it
of
pixelated?
Such crushed.
Was it pixelated? Like, was there a picture?
Yeah, censoring the tits.
You could not see the guy, but you could see how much he destroyed the room.
Was his shirt on the floor? Was that the destruction?
Yeah, it's something like this. Like there were chairs on the floor, or the bed was not done.
Okay,
it
so
looked like a teenager room, basically.
Okay, so basically like a rock star ruining
Right.
Yeah.
a hotel room.
Okay. Fourth one. He builds a sauna at home and becomes the most popular public space in Kokkola.
Is it because of the city? I don't know if that's true. I cannot be.
I mean, given the amount of people who live in Kokkola, that could be true.
But
like
she
if
could,
you buy a
she could be
sauna, everyone will
she
come.
she could be playing on that though.
And you
I
should
don't
see the
know.
sauna.
You should see the sauna. I can't believe that's true.
Okay, yeah, no, that's not true. I mean,
Oh, it's not true.
Ah,
Yes.
yeah.
You're very good.
there are enough saunas in Finland and public saunas, so you don't need that kind of
Yeah.
nonsense.
But at the beginning, I wanted to make a news like he builds a sauna out of something weird, but I was not
That would
inspired.
have been, like
I mean-
a telephone booth.
Yeah, exactly.
You
They
have
are
seen Miesten
super
Vuoro.
weird.
No, I have not.
Ah, yes.
It's a movie about sauna in Finland. It's called Miesten Vuoro, man's turn. And in that movie, you can see a man building a sauna in an old telephone booth.
Wow.
And
okay.
Maybe it's the same.
another one also built one in a car, I guess.
Yeah, in the
or
car it was
yeah.
crazy, and one person had a bear. Like I remember that scene. I was
Oh,
like,
it's
okay,
Juuso.
okay.
Yeah, he's very
Typical
famous.
Finnish family.
Yeah,
the bear in the
he's,
garden.
he's a guy living in Lapland, and he
But have you met
he
him?
rescues but
Okay.
he rescues bear, I think, and he has a
Okay.
connection with bears.
Look at that.
But for people who
A
wants
bear
to,
whisperer.
Yeah,
Interesting.
but he only rescue bears. Like he doesn't build sauna out
okay.
of a bear.
Yeah, would have been a
He's
bit
the
dark.
exception.
Actually, nice transition because the next news is a house burned down in Joensuu. A dog, a hamster, and 3 cats were trapped.
Oh, that's so sad.
That could be true, given
Yeah.
because the Finns, they are very much into their pets, and
I could see that.
Okay, that's the one. Maybe I will remove because for me it's hilarious to specify there was 3 cats, a dog, and a hamster. Like,
yes.
okay, for me the detail, like I imagine if they were burning down the house of my parents, it would be and the 5 fishies and the 3
Oh,
cats.
because they have
and
so many pets.
Yeah, so the least makes it funny for me. But maybe I will remove because it's my dark humor. When I read it, I was like,
No, that's true. I mean, Finnish people. That's something I really like about Finnish people and Finland is like people. They really care. Like when they decide to adopt a pet, they are very serious about
Oh
it.
yeah, it's a member
yeah.
of the family.
Yeah, true.
And I
Oh,
really appreciate that because in countries like even in France, like there are so many dogs abandoned.
Oh,
Yeah,
like stray
yeah.
dogs.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
People who adopt, like I know people from my family who adopted a cat and then abandon it during the summer. Like,
Oh.
we are too busy, we cannot bring it in holiday. I was like,
Yeah, see, in Finland this doesn't happen. Someone adopts a dog and
They're committed.
they're committed.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if in the extreme case that they don't want the dog anymore, they will do everything they can to actually find a new home for the dog and not just abandon him like that. So
Right.
yeah. So maybe we will keep it just to say that Finns take care of their
Yes.
animals.
Oh,
but
they do.
I promise I'm not laughing at the death of these animals.
No,
the
not
way
at all.
it's written,
I
that
mean, in my
makes
house,
me...
I have to compete with our dog.
oh.
The treatment. I'm like, oh my
Okay.
god, she's sitting on the sofa. Are you getting her a throw? I'm cold. I said I'm cold, and you're draping the throw on the dog. That's crazy.
Yeah, well, it's as you said, it's a member of family here.
Member of the family.
Well, that was the end.
No, I
I
wanted
had-
more.
Yeah.
I had one last, but it was like I think it's obvious that it's fake. It's like Espo, a teacher, ignored the red light. Terrible consequences for his career. That was okay. Maybe it's my interpretation.
His 10 years under review.
Yeah.
Actually, do you feel bad when you cross at the red light in Finland? For me, it was a huge transition. The moment I stopped crossing at the red light, light, and now in France, it's very hard for me to cross again
Yeah.
illegally, and my friends are mocking me so much.
Actually,
Oh yeah, is it like a typical thing in France to just
Yeah,
run the red
no
light?
one
Oh, yeah.
respects the light.
Really?
But you know
it
what?
sounds
Yeah.
like Dominican Republic.
Okay.
It's like they're installing a new traffic light. Ha!
Yeah.
yeah. But it's funny you said that because 1 week ago I was in Paris and I really feel like just like you, I've become a Finn because
Yeah, we stop.
I saw the red lights. I
Wait,
just
are we-
stopped.
are
All
we
the
talk-
Parisians would cross.
Yeah. Oh, I am so sorry. There's been a little misunderstanding. You mean like for the crosswalk?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh my God! I thought you were talking about the actual
Oh,
red light.
for the cars. Yeah, that's funny. I
I was like,
immediately,
wow, Noémie,
understood what you meant.
You're James
No,
Dean
no.
over here. A rebel without a cause, just running red lights left and right. No, but I understand the crosswalk thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's big.
sorry.
In New York, it's almost like a joke. Like, come
Yeah,
on.
in New York
you know,
also
it's
people
it's so much
didn't-
traffic, but yeah, here they definitely respect it. And I'm like, it's like a lone street. It's
Yeah.
like the evening, and they're like just waiting to cross it. So yeah, I was very
Yeah, but,
surprised about that.
Have you ever found yourself like you actually in the evening? There's no one else but you in the street, and the light is red. You still feel like you still don't feel
Yeah.
like crossing. It's
Yeah,
like it's like when you move to Finland, it
Yeah.
immediately creates a new consciousness.
And I think that's very telling
Yeah.
from the society, like just
Yeah.
following the rules, doing things by the book.
yeah, but that's crazy when you come from a culture like ours. I'm not sure about
Culture of
Dominican.
In the
Thieves.
Dominican Republic, we're a little loosey-goosey when it comes
Yeah.
to the traffic
Because,
situation.
in France, the cliches are true. We don't respect the rules that much. But Finland really
And
changes
we
you.
smoke.
Finland changes you so much.
It does. It really does. It really does.
Actually, it could be an extra question for you since you come from New York. Like I've been there recently for an internship, and like I felt the impact of Finland on me when I arrived in New York. I was like, wow, so many people. It's moving all the time. And
Yeah.
how was it for you when you moved from such a busy city to boredom of Turku?
Yeah, it's interesting when my wife and we were still living in New York, and we had visitors come. She had friends, people that she worked with. We used to tell them like, oh, yeah, we're planning on moving to Finland, and the reaction was always like a double take, like, what? Why?
He's shaking his head.
Yeah, they're like, what? Huh? Why? And that was always a question, and it was funny. But I visited here, and because I was from such a fast-paced city, I kind of saw the benefit of kind of like throttling down and not being in the midst of all the rushing and the stress and the panic, always having to get somewhere so quickly.
Social security.
Yeah, exactly. So when I started visiting here, I kind of appreciated it. But I have to say that sometimes I miss a taxi cab driver yelling at a pedestrian that's crossing the street, like, hey, what are you doing? It's kind of like the New York persona. So sometimes I do miss that type of action. But in general, I've learned to appreciate like a little more quiet life here.
Or people dressed with style. We say, I miss it from France. And in New York, I found it. I was like, okay, people here are really expressing themselves. Because
Yeah.
in Finland, like, I cannot, as we say in French, I cannot throw stones to Finns because they have such a bad weather that it's very difficult to dress elegantly, I think, during winter.
Yeah,
You just
yeah.
want to survive. But it's true that during summer, it's the moment where I'm like, come on, guys, like put a bit of colors, express yourself a bit more. Even if
Yeah.
at festivals, it's the only moments where I feel people are like putting a lot of efforts in their outfit. But in general, it's very uniform. I don't know how you feel it.
Right. I
So-
understand. I mean, if you're gonna be comparing, I think any other place to France in terms of colors and the style and the fashion, that's almost like you guys almost set the bar in terms of like being stylish and kind of throwing stuff on. You throw it on, you drape it over you, but it looks like you might as well be walking into a catwalk. That's kind of like the ooh la la.
I wish this was
That's kind of
true.
like that. Yeah. That's kind of like the sentiment. I think even in the U.S. when you speak of French and the style and the fashion, it's always like really up there. And here, yes, it's very limiting in the winter. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
you
let
really
me
just-
contradict you a bit.
Oh.
Do you know?
Fight back. Do you know Marimekko?
Do you know Marimekko? Do you know a website called Hell Looks?
No?
Oh, I
What
think
is-
I used to.
a website.
Yes, I know what you're
I
talking
mean,
about.
I don't know if it started as a website or a Facebook page or
It might have been something like
Instagram
that.
page. Yeah. It's been I think it has existed for like 10 or 12 years, and it's do you remember Humans of New York? It was also a
Yes.
page on Facebook.
Yeah,
It's the
okay.
same thing, but in Helsinki, I think. And they just wander in the streets of Helsinki and they take pictures of people
Yeah.
who are
okay.
dressing
Yeah.
with style.
Yeah.
And
Helsinki, I have to agree, people dress better.
Yeah, and I have to say that even here in Turku, nobody wears a scarf like a Finnish person. I don't know what it is. Like I wear my scarf and I look like I'm gonna strangle myself.
Yeah,
you know. But
same.
like whenever they just my wife and I see her doing it really quickly. Yeah, just like that. They just do it really quickly, and then I look at it and I'm like, oh my god, why can't I look like that
but
when I
it's
put a
in their
scarf on?
DNA.
It is. That's what it is.
And the braids. I think girls are doing cool braids. With
Yeah,
their,
oh,
like
yeah,
the
yeah, the
hairstyles are
hairstyle.
very
Oh
nice.
yeah, and
I'm
the
a bit jealous.
glasses.
And
Oh,
the
really?
earrings.
A lot of nice
Okay,
glasses.
and everything.
know what?
But
I wanna
actually,
take-
when it comes to the earrings, I felt like in Finland people are more daring. Like I've seen people with very eccentric.
There's this brand. This isn't a plug, but it's just a brand that my wife uses. And speaking of like really interesting earrings, I think it's like Annelle or something like
Oh,
that.
yeah, I
It's like a
heard that.
jewelry brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen those, and you know, I got a little hint last Christmas that maybe somebody in the house wanted it. It wasn't a hint; it was like, "This is what I want." But I went into the website and beautiful necklaces and stuff like that. So I think you guys had a run for your money, the French, when it comes to Finnish fashion.
The dashing husband is recommending.
Oh, look at that!
You've got yourself a reputation.
Yeah, I know, right?
Okay, actually, I was thinking, like, personally, when I walk among Finnish people, I feel like it's really easy to recognize because of my style that I'm not Finnish. Even if most of the time Finns think,
That's true.
like I don't have very dark hair, I have blue eyes, so a lot of people can believe that at least one of my parents is Finn.
Right.
But don't you feel that our outfits often as international like really differ from the rest?
My wife could probably like really go into my style and how I leave the house sometimes. She's like, oh, you're such an American. Because, you know, if I have to go to the gym, I wear my gym shorts and it's cold, so I wear my winter boots and I throw my jacket over it and I put my beanie on and I just leave the house to take the kids to school. And she's like, you're going to leave the house looking like that? And I'm like, yeah. And then Finnish people, like, they look at me in the street. I'm like, why is this guy wearing shorts in the middle of winter? And I have to explain myself. I'm going to the gym.
Sorry, I'm exercising.
No, it's
Yeah.
true what you say. You can tell when someone is a foreigner
Yeah.
in Finland.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
And that leads me to the main topic of the day.
Oh,
Transition.
Oh, la, 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 la.
Right.
No, I've
Should you
read
put a jingle?
I've read actually very interesting studies that has been done 2 years ago by an
Okay.
institute called Moni Suomi. And they were like analyzing loneliness in Finland and revealed that especially immigrants were feeling loneliness. And among this category of immigrants in Finland, there was a very specific one where almost 1 person out of 5 was feeling lonely, like most of the time or all the time. So I think that's huge. And it's men who are aged between 20 to 29 years old. So it's a very specific category of population, most likely guys who come to study, because at that age usually you come for your studies. And it's really interesting to think, okay, why are men of that age struggling so much to integrate or to make friends? And in your case, you came with your family, so I think that helped also to have, like, when you come home, you have your people.
Yes.
But for a young guy coming from a distant country, and they said that especially the people who are non-European struggle the most to build relationships because their culture are so different. And like in your case, what was your experience of integration in Finland? And Did it help to have a family? I guess yes.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely did. I think it was a much softer landing for me. And, I mean, shout out to my Finnish family here. They welcomed me with open arms. They supported me. They, just really taking care of me in terms of the attention and reaching out to me. So I'm very fortunate in that regard. And I can't imagine what it's like to move here without that. It must be very difficult.
Yeah, I think Simo and I had quite different experiences also, because in my case I came as an Erasmus student, so there was the idea that I would come back to France.
Right.
And later, after 2 Erasmus exchanges, I decided, okay, I really like Finland. I want to stay here. And luckily for me, I had already met my boyfriend, so I knew I was going to live with someone, etc.
Right. And
but
is he? I mean,
no, he's not Finnish. He's not
right.
Finnish.
All right.
He's also from Europe, but he's not Finnish. So I even if I knew, okay, I don't know if it's going to last, it was only the beginning.
Right.
But still, I knew some people already in Finland, because I had spent 2 years there. So I had some Finnish friends, I had some internationals who I knew would stay.
Mm-hmm.
So it reassured me, and maybe this small transition to permanent life in Finland, as I have now, and I plan at least to stay a few more years, was smoother, because I took baby steps. And my family now is very sad that each year, like, are you staying again? Yeah, I'm staying. Mom. My grandma especially.
We'll make you stay. You're not allowed to leave now.
And how was it for you, Simo?
Yeah, as we mentioned in the beginning, I came thanks to, I was hesitating between because of or thanks to a girl. And I'm very happy about that. But the thing is that unlike you, Noémie, I didn't come here with the whole how to say Erasmus vibes. So it was just her and me, and I didn't get, and back then I was very shy, much more shy than now, so I didn't really go to events or such, and it took me many years. Now then I made friend, and now it's fine, but it took quite a long time for me to create a network of friends and acquaintances in Finland. Yeah. And sometimes I kind of feel like that's why I kind of regret not having done some kind of Erasmus exchange or something in my life, because it does force you to go out and make friends. And I mean, there are Erasmus people who maybe don't go out, but let's say it facilitates things.
Yeah, but I need to contradict you on that point, because as a person who has done a lot of Erasmus, I think the problem when you're doing an Erasmus is that you come here, you're like, oh wow, I want to discover maximum, and you are very guided by associations like Erasmus Student Network, ESN, and so you meet only Erasmus people. And you never mix with people who stay in Finland. So after my first Erasmus, I realized, oh wow, all my friends, they came back to their countries.
Right.
And the second time I came, I was like, I need to avoid Erasmus people, because otherwise all my friends are going to leave again.
Yeah.
So I need to meet only people who stay here. And that's actually the moment when I met Simon, because I was doing activities that were more related to the city and not to international events. I was trying to meet Finns, I was trying to meet locals who stay. And every year in September, I'm like, oh no, don't go to Erasmus events, because you will meet people who will leave in 3 months and break your heart. Yeah, it's so hard every time.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, I've been here for 4 years, and I mean, I have like maybe 1 or 2 friends, acquaintances that I go and hang out with. So, and going back to coming here and having the family, you kind of create this bubble, though, where your routine is, kids, wife, in-laws. Because I'm in this bubble and I have my routines, I'm not really like engaging with people outside of my very small circle. So for 4 years, and because I also work from home, I don't work for a Finnish company, so I'm not like after work or doing any of those things. I've kind of stayed within the confines of my family. So in a way, obviously it's great to have that type of support, but there's also this other side to it where because you have your family here, you don't really venture out to meet other people.
Yeah, I've actually had exactly the same experience as you. I also work from home,
Yeah.
and it's true that it's also another thing I've missed, like not having actual colleagues.
Yeah.
Because when you have a like regular work, quote unquote, colleagues can be a wonderful door to socializing and such. So yeah, that's why you really need to force yourself.
Yeah, you
to
really
go
do.
out to doing coffees and bars and such.
Yeah, and hobbies.
Yeah, and if you're a shy person to begin with, it's gonna be a struggle.
Yeah.
So, what were what helped you to meet people? Because you said you have a couple of friends now. So how did you meet them?
Right. Well, one of the friends that I have, we met where I used to live. It was an apartment building. And I was talking to my daughter in Spanish, and he overheard me, but he didn't really quite hear what I was saying or the language that I was speaking. And he was like, "Are you Greek?" And I was
Nice
like, "Oh,
try.
yeah." He was kind of like curious, and that's how we kind of started talking. And then, as a parent, my time is limited in terms of when and where I can, go out and stuff like that. So we always kept putting off these meetups because that's another thing. Like, oh yeah, in a couple of weeks. Oh, what are you doing then? Oh yeah, in a couple of weeks. And next thing you know, it's a year. So also forming those relationships, it takes more than meeting once or twice a year. So that's been my situation. That's how I met one of my friends. The other acquaintance that I have, we met at like a playground. Because his kid
Every time because of your kids.
Yeah, that's
it's because of the kids. You were not in the playground yourself playing.
That would have been we would have been having a completely different conversation. You would have brought me in for a completely different topic if I were just in the playground. See, I would expect this type of humor from Noémie.
That's
But
definitely-
anyway, no, but
Only with
parents. That's another way that I probably have access to. Maybe meeting parents, and I actually did that this past weekend. The kids help because then they make friends.
Yeah.
And then they're always like, "Can they come over to my house? Can they come over to my house?" And then you make a connection with the parent, and sometimes that works too.
So sweet.
Yeah. No.
Actually, I have an extra question.
Wait, what? It's okay.
No, I was about to compare kids with animals, but I was going to say it's a bit like when someone walks their dog and another person walks their dog and they meet and like, oh, what breed is
You
that?
know what?
And they
as a
socialize.
parent, as a
Almost the
parent,
same.
I approve the sentiment. I can understand it. And my wife, she walks the dog, right? And just to jump into this, because that's another way that you can meet people, and this is, you go out for a walk,
Yeah,
and then
the
you have the
dogs
dog
for sure.
walking people.
For sure.
Sometimes my wife says, "I'll be out for half an hour," and she comes back in 2, and I'm like, "It's the dog people, right?" She's like, "Yeah," and then that's something that you have in common. So
Yeah, okay.
don't feel bad about the comparison. I understand, and I don't take any I don't find it insulting at all.
Okay.
Wonderful.
I was just thinking about the kids because I don't know many people who have children in Finland. And I was wondering, as a parent coming from another country, like, what do you think of the education system? Especially comparing the US with Finland, like, it must be crazy, the difference.
Yeah. Well, first I could speak on the education system because where I come from, and as a disclaimer, I don't want to speak for America or Americans or people that live where I live in New York, but in my experience, I don't think that education is a priority.
Okay.
So it's very lacking. And then I don't feel like enough resources are allocated towards education. I think it's so important. And it was driving me crazy while we were living there. That's actually one of the bigger reasons as to why we moved here from New York is because of the education system for our kids and that better quality of life for them specifically. So having them come here, I mean, for them, the integration is easy, I guess. It's a little different, right? My kids speak Finnish. They learned Finnish, as they were coming up before they got into school. So I feel at ease. I have peace of mind in terms of my kids' education here.
Okay.
How old were they when you moved?
Well, I'm terrible with the age.
Yeah.
But hold on a second. Let me see if I can do my dad math, right? So when we moved here, it was 2020. My daughter was 5,
Okay.
and my son was he was 2-ish.
Okay,
I don't do the months thing.
Yeah,
He's
no, that-
Yeah.
But he
they
was
are
2-ish.
both today in old enough to vote.
What's that?
Please edit this joke.
Simo is on fire now. Anyway, so they were
I'm
like
worse
in
on math than you.
primary school.
Primary school. I see. Okay.
I would
Yeah.
count it like this, that they are in the phase between kindergarten and primary school where
Yeah.
you...
Your kids?
No, I don't have kids.
But you were talking about which kids? Primary school kids? I'm sorry, I'm a little... Wait,
Not
what?
your kids.
My
But
kids?
your kids were between kindergarten to primary school.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
But
yeah.
primary school starts here later than in France, no?
Yeah,
Or
it
is
starts-
it?
I think it starts at 7.
Yeah, they start school at. Yeah, I don't
5 or
remember.
7.
6. Escari is 6, and then...
Okay, we need to study.
Yeah, math. we really need to get better at math here.
Really should have brought. Yeah.
Okay, but maybe one last question about this topic could be like, in your experience, like, I think it happens to everybody at some point in their life to feel lonely. But in your case, what did you do when you felt like, wow, the winter is very long, or I really don't manage to meet people? Like, what helped you in these difficult moments?
Yeah, this is a huge factor regarding loneliness in Finland and
Definitely the
Yeah.
weather and the darkness.
yeah,
Yeah, the
because you were
darkness.
talking earlier about the foreigners moving here and suffering from loneliness. I know a lot of them who suffered from loneliness here to begin with, and then they experienced the winter, and it was too much.
It's a
they
double
ran,
whammy.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
made them run away from Finland
Yeah,
and
it's
say, "I
true.
will never ever come back here." So yeah, please, what was it for you?
Well,
was
it,
like?
it helped that I felt like we were at a point in our lives when I was just kind of like easing into this culture. Again, my family and us being together, we had like Sunday dinners. I found things to do with the kids outside. And again, you come across other parents. And at first, you feel a little overwhelmed with the weather because it just goes on and on and on. And you're like, okay, like when is this going to actually start to change? But in meeting other people and also seeing that they felt the same way and just kind of communicating about it, like everybody's on the same page about the weather, that helped. And also finding things to do, like reading or I like as a hobby, sometimes I do video games. That helped, and then I could connect with my friends because they also played. Calling my family members while I'm cooking, even though there's a difference in the time. Like
Yeah.
I
How
did
many
all-
hours?
Yeah,
for you?
7 hours.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
just doing those things kind of helped me get through like the first year. But I've been hearing about it so much while I was living in New York. People telling me, but you do know about the winter, right? And you know about the darkness, right? So that I was kind of like preparing myself for it. But yeah, I think finding people, reaching out to people back home, finding a hobby, and keeping yourself busy, like not just with work, but with things for yourself, like investing in yourself during that time. I think that's a great help.
Yeah, that's exactly the kind of advice we always hear and always give. So once again, it's proven to be true
Yeah.
with you, like social activities or just activities, not necessarily social, but as you say, keep your mind. Because first winter I've experienced in Finland, I almost became like one of those people who wanted to run away from here and never come back.
It's like a seasonal depression that can just kind of set in.
Yeah, and the first time it happens, like I was not prepared for it, so it fell very heavily. And now that I think back about it, I think that at this time I didn't have a big social life. I didn't have a lot of activities, so it probably triggered more.
Yeah,
of the,
definitely.
So, yeah.
Eat vitamins.
But you know, sometimes the famous D vitamin. Of course it's mandatory. I don't know.
No,
if
you
take
eat multivitamins.
Yeah.
I only take the best.
Oh
of them.
yeah. Okay.
I don't.
But it's very important.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually.
It's very important, but
Yeah.
it's not enough.
Yeah.
D vitamin is not enough.
By the lamp, I discovered the light
what?
lamp.
Yeah, the kirkasvalolamppu.
Like it's
bright
yes,
light.
yes, we have one of those that we put it
you
on
have
the
it.
Yeah.
we put it on the like the dining table in the morning sometimes.
Yeah.
you
just to
see,
kinda
even
like-
Finns
that-
have it.
That's also what
Yeah.
This is all very important, but I really think that above all, what really is important is to keep your mind busy and meet people as much as you can. This is a major
yeah,
thing to help you.
and reach back out if you have that opportunity to the people that you do know back home, friends
Yeah.
and things like that. Well, in terms of the integration, like going back to that and what would help, it's something very obvious. But I had a thought before I came here, and it's just a language, like the Finnish language is this big thing that seems to be a very big challenge because it's a very unique language, and a lot of people tend to put a lot of pressure on how hard it is to learn it. But I think it's so important because when you come here and you don't speak Finnish, you're used to expressing yourself in a different language, and sometimes when your voice is taken away from you,
I was wondering, someone is ringing.
when you don't have your voice, like literally, you can't communicate, you can't express yourself, you can't tell people who you are, and then even when you're learning the language, some things just don't translate.
Yeah.
It's almost like you have to take on a different personality, So I think that's also very challenging, even after you learn the language, because you're not a native speaker. And I just started my language course this week. I'm like 2 classes in.
Clap.
So I think that's just it's really important, and it should be done as quickly as possible. And you should take advantage of as many programs or classes, because that's your way in. You know?
And that's something we've been talking about already in previous episodes. But you will hear a lot before moving to Finland that it's fine. Nordic people, they all speak English fluently and such. It doesn't work like it's not really true in Finland. I mean, a lot of people speak English, and they speak it well, and you can survive.
You can probably get by.
Yeah, you can survive with English, but maybe
you're
not,
missing out.
Yeah, you're really missing out, and maybe you cannot survive with English as well as you would imagine. I think I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but in Sweden, for example, I think it might be easier. There are a lot of Finnish people. Like, I was surprised about like the amount of young people, like let's say under 25, Finns who don't really speak English.
Really?
Really?
For me, I'm shocked how well they speak.
I'm like surprised, and I usually get a little excited. Like if I go to the grocery store and I always start out with the Finnish, and I'm like, uksi, kaksi, cucumbers. And then they're like, what was that an English word? And then they or Spanish too.
Oh no, that's so sweet.
Yeah, the Spanish too. When they hear me speaking to my kids, elderly people, they're like, "Hola, ¿cómo estás?"
They love.
Yeah,
Mitä estás?
I have to give it to Finnish people because they're always interested in a different language.
They are generally really good with language. Once, like, I mean, I'm contradicting myself because previously I said that I met a lot of who don't speak English, but
so many speak French. It's
really
scary. Yeah.
My wife speaks French.
Yeah.
You see?
She does.
Yeah, I mean,
Why?
even many people we've invited here or that we've met, like we just started off like, Finns, and then through conversation,
You're French.
You're
I'm
French
actually
and-
bilingual.
yeah, and they're really good with languages in general.
They are.
Like,
they are. They really are.
They are.
I had an extra question because, like, you were born in the Dominican Republic,
Yes,
and so
Dominican
you moved
Republic.
2 times. You had to learn the new language also.
I had a little. I thought, and I think I might have messaged you about that because my first like immigrant experience was as a 7-year-old. So the whole laws of integration are completely different when you're just trying to break into like a crowd of kids. Mostly everybody during that time was watching like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Cabbage Patch Kids, and you could just jump into that with just a toy, to kind of like break in and get to know other people as a kid. So I was completely oblivious to all the hardships that, like, for instance, my mother was going through and learning English and looking for government programs and trying to find employment. So I was oblivious to all of that, right? But then living the immigrant experience as an adult, it makes you appreciate like what your parents did for you.
Yeah.
And going from the Dominican Republic, and you see things a lot differently. So yeah, it's been really eye-opening for me to come here as an adult and kind of like relive this again. And sometimes I've found myself in certain situations where I feel a little anxious. Like just now, I was trying to park my car and you're trying to read the signs, and I thought New York signs were hard because you have like 4 of them stacked, like contradicting each other on every street. But here, I'm just like, the language, and you start to get that little anxiety, and it kind of took me, for whatever reason, I thought when I was young in New York, not understanding those first couple of months when I didn't know how to speak English and adults speaking to me in class and stuff like that. So that connection is like really present sometimes as I'm here living the same experience, just older.
Yeah, and maybe you can help your kids better because you have experienced it yourself.
Yeah, I do. And sometimes like now my kids are shying away a little bit from speaking Spanish because it kind of makes them stick out. You know what I mean? Like they kind of want to be, kids also want to belong. I don't think that ever goes away. We always just want to belong and find similarities. So sometimes they shy away from the Spanish speaking because of that. So because I have this experience, I'm like, no, like stick with it, please, because it's going to benefit them later on.
And actually, did your mother learn English before moving to America?
She did
No,
not.
so it's exactly like you, but
just like me, She knew a little bit, but in the Dominican Republic, you don't really have the resources to take a language course in English. It's very limited, so she had to learn in New York.
That's the harsh way.
Yeah, the hard knock life.
Because I'm thinking, in our case, we are lucky enough that Finns speak English, but
I'm
imagining, what if I immigrated to Turkey, for
I
instance,
know,
and I would have to learn the language, and maybe I'm going in the countryside and people are not speaking English.
Yeah.
Well,
wow,
actually,
I would feel so lonely.
But
that's very isolating.
Maybe that would have made you learn the language faster, actually, when you have no choice.
Yeah,
because
that's true.
Like in French.
That's
true.
often what I say in my own case. I've been in Finland for so long, and I still struggle learning the language. And I often think, like, it's probably because I've used English too much.
Yeah,
and,
my friend was heckling me about it the other day. He's like, "You're gonna be one of those Dominican people that
who speak only Spanish."
Like my father. That's a completely different story. Like my father, he moved to New York in the '80s, and he just started working. And when you move to New York, I guess you find your people to kind of soften the blow. Like people from the Dominican Republic tell you, "Hey, come over here. I can set you up in this job." So that's why sometimes in New York you see a lot of the same, like ethnicity working in certain.
It's so separated.
In certain industries because they have friends, they have cousins, they have family that first came to New York. They found their way, and then they're bringing people in, and they're bringing them into the same job. So my father, he just started working, and his English is, it's definitely better than my Finnish. But yeah, he never really learned.
Yeah, because when you hang out with people who speak your native.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I was avoiding French people a lot. Sadly, I met Simon. And now, you're actually at the moment, this year, you're the only person I speak French with. Yeah, so we need to practice more.
And immerse ourselves and force ourselves and go to places where you only see or hear Finnish, and because
go to Lavatans.
Yeah,
I think you guys had a podcast where there was a gentleman speaking about when you kick off a relationship with somebody, how you should stick with the same language because then it doesn't ever.
It was me, yeah, because to go back to what you were saying earlier, it's been kind of proven, so to speak, by neurolinguists that you actually take on a different personality when you switch to a different language.
I've been thinking about that. Who's Finnish Jimmy? What is he going to do?
Yeah, Finnish. Well, he's
Jimmy.
in gestation now. He's getting born.
Exactly. Is he going to like salmiakki?
Yeah.
Is he going to do the licorice thing? Like, what am I going to do? I
But
don't know.
it does change you, and also what I've probably were mentioning in this episode is like your brain is like a sponge. So even if it looks impossible, like trust your brain, it will absorb the thing around you.
It's true.
Without you noticing, it will absorb those weird, super long words with a lot of dots everywhere.
Yeah,
And
like
at some point it will magically start to make sense.
it's true.
It will take months or
My
years.
wife has told me that. She's like, you got to give yourself more credit. You've been swimming in the Finnish sauce for like 12 years. Like eventually it's just going to click.
Yeah, it's like bike, right? I mean, it seems impossible for months or years, and suddenly, like,
It just worked.
It
It
started
just-
happening to me like 2 years ago. I was like, oh, I've been in Finland for like 4 years.
You
5
started
years.
beating yourself up, right?
Yeah, I suck. Why do I suck so much? It's horrible. And then suddenly, I start seeing signs in the streets or opening books and. What the fuck? I understand everything that it says.
And now what's started to happen with me is that like my wife and my kids are having a conversation or my in-laws come over and sometimes I'm just like almost as a reflex I jump in, I'm like, no, that's not what I said to you. They're speaking in Finnish but I'm like, no, that's not what I said to you. Or like, no, this is how it happened, you know? So I'm kind of like connecting the dots, and so it's like subconscious. Like one day I just feel like, oh, I hope I just wake up and I'm just like, moi.
I'm fluent
Moi,
now.
everyone.
Fluent all of a sudden.
And then your kids will be like, shit, we don't have our secret language
I
anymore.
know,
Yeah.
They try that. They try that on me. I'm like, I know what
Sneaky.
tuhma is. I know what
Sneaky kids.
Yeah,
Too
yeah.
smart already.
And just a side thing, right? So we have neighbors. They're Swedish speaking, and then the kids. I just decided that. I was going to speak to them in Spanish, like just to, no, seriously, like just,
the kids of
sometimes
the
I'm
neighbor.
speaking to my kids in Spanish. So then I was speaking to my neighbor's kids in Spanish.
Okay.
So then, what started happening? Speaking of a sponge, especially with little kids, whenever they see me, they're like, "Hola, ¿cómo estás?" And then with the English, they hear me and my wife speaking in English. And sometimes, like now with the kids, like I said, they just been, shunning the Spanish. So I've been speaking to them in English. And now the neighbors, at one point in time, they wanted to keep something from the kids. So they decided that they were going to speak in English. Because they also speak English, right? So they're like, let's talk in English so the kids don't pick up on it. And from the other room, the smallest is like, oh, you guys are going to the store? You don't want us to come along? So they're also learning the English,
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of like being in it.
Yeah, I mean,
big brains.
kids' brains are not only sponge but extra sponges.
Yes,
like
exactly.
They make sense of everything, so you cannot really.
And they
Yeah.
want to know the secrets.
Yeah,
So they're even more
That's true.
motivated.
That's true.
you cannot hide anything from kids.
Okay, but we will continue with Simon, who prepared a few emergency
Yeah, because
organization. Sometimes like winter can be really harsh, especially if you're I'm thinking about new students because it's the most common case that I know of a person who moved to Finland and is like, wow, I started school, so I'm really serious at school, so I didn't go enough to student events, so I didn't make friends because I wanted to be hardworking and
Right,
etc.
right.
And to understand how Finland works, because I think when you come from another continent, you need to learn so many things so intensively, and at the end of September, you're like, okay, now I'm ready to meet people. Too late. It's already like getting
There's
darker.
nothing
Etc.
happening.
No, it's not true. In October, very busy. We will give you stuff to do. But yeah, Simon prepared a little emergency list.
yeah, I did find some resources to reach out to. Of course, we were talking about difficulties here, but at some point, the difficulties can become too much, and you really are on the verge of like the darkest depression of your life. So thankfully, there are some help for you in Finland. I found a structure called Nähty, Nähty.ry, which is an organization that focuses on mental health for students more specifically. You can reach out to them pretty easily. They have a website, they have a phone and everything.
Maybe spell
So-
Nähty because you say it with the Finnish pronunciation.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's N-Y.
Why?
Yeah, I was gonna say U.
Yeah,
I'm
you
so
see,
Finnish.
like...
Yeah, it's NYYTI .fi, and there are also Mieliterveystalo. So, do I need to spell everything? Yeah.
we will put
We
the
will
links
put the
under
links.
the
Yes.
episode.
Yeah, which is another structure, more general about the mental health and the well-being, free of charge. This platform on the website is free of charge, so it's very important to reach out to. And in the most extreme cases of crisis, there is a crisis line that you could call to, which is called Mieli, just Mieli, piste fi, MYELI.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I think every single city in Finland, or at least the big city, each of them have a structure for this kind of crisis. Probably in Turku, in Tyks,
Yeah.
they have something. What was the other one? Like UHT? No,
Yeah.
UHTS. But it's only for students, right?
Yeah, I will
It's
just give a little warning
Yeah.
because I know a couple of people who went to the emergency for like mental health crisis, and
Right.
I think that sometimes it's difficult to explain in your own word in a foreign language, because English most of the time is not our native language, to a person for who English is also not the native language, and to explain your symptoms or the distress in which you are is sometimes really difficult. And I know a couple of people who felt really disappointed by the Finnish mental health system. So if you feel stuck, I would really recommend you to try to contact a professional that still lives in your native country.
Yeah.
Because I feel
Oh,
that
that's a great
sometimes
idea.
Finnish culture doesn't understand certain issues that we have. And so I think in general, don't be ashamed to reach out for help. And if you feel that sometimes the Finnish system doesn't fit your issues, so don't hesitate to contact someone back home to have like online meetings. And one thing that I would recommend and that I use since 2 years now is the student study psychologist. I think it's super nice to discuss your problem with someone who has who is supposed to help you with your studies. So let's say the main problem is not, okay, we're going to therapy and talk about how you argued with your parents, etc. No, the point is to deal with, for instance, I'm feeling depressed now and it's difficult to study, for example. So the goal of this short-term therapy is, okay, how can I help you to study better or to feel more relaxed? So you don't have to go through all your background history of your childhood trauma, etc. So it's also another kind of therapy that could suit people who are a bit scared to go too deep into their issues. So I would recommend it. At least I really liked it.
Yeah, and also there are in Finland therapists that speak English and who are like foreign therapists, psychologists and such who live in Finland. I don't know if there are a lot of them, and the ones I have the information I've found, they seem quite pricey, but they exist, so maybe there are more of them hidden somewhere and less pricey. But they do exist.
Yeah, and
It's,
if you're working, you might have like a sort of form of social security that is
to help you with that.
yeah. So in general, you don't hesitate to look for these opportunities, but we wanted to finish on a lighter note because life is not only depression and dark winter. Actually, you are living in Turku, the busiest city in Finland, and with Simon we prepared a couple of organizations that we would like to recommend, and maybe Jimmy, if you can think about some stuff that you would recommend yourself, a playground that you liked or something like
Because
this.
I have kids
Yes. And a dog.
and a dog.
Yeah, there is this great association that started I think last year, that is called Turku Together. I would really recommend their activities. They are doing them for free. and they are organizing a lot of different kinds of stuff. So, for instance, they were doing this summer strawberry picking in a farm, some yoga session, some
that's
walks
cool.
in the forest. Like this weekend, they have a geocaching event.
It's not only for students, right?
No, it's for all person, Finns or international, everyone who
great.
wants to meet people, to have in a cozy atmosphere. That's the goal. You just need to register. So Turku together, they are on Instagram and on LinkedIn. And I would really recommend this group, and they are preparing soon some stuff for Halloween. So keep in touch because they have
it's becoming
some
more and more popular here, Halloween.
I love Finns are super fan of it. It's super nice.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they have a really very Halloween-ish weather. At the time of Halloween, I mean, the time of Halloween looks really like Halloween outside.
Yeah.
And then two other communities I would really recommend. Like I'm thinking also that the ages vary a lot. For instance, in Turku together, the ages like any kind of person. But there is an association that is dedicated to youth in Turku that is Heng Flow. Heng Flow, so it's an organization, an NGO for the youth, by the youth. So it's only for people under 29, but they offer an activity every Saturday for free. So for young people, if they want to meet others. And I think that's cool because there are a lot of kids who are in this in-between, maybe like your children who are like, they were born maybe somewhere or they were born in Finland, but some of their parents are from another country. So they are in this in-between of Finnishness and other culture. So I think that's nice in Hengflow, for instance. They switch a lot from Finnish to English, so everyone is included. I like so that's a really nice organization. I recommend. And the last one is the restaurant Kasviskeidas, who is very active this year and who has organized many parties, many concerts, poetry contest, like slam poetry contest.
Wow, that's
They
cool.
organize
And what's
a
the
lot of
name?
Kasviskeidas.
Kasviskeidas. Yeah, and we will see if we can invite the people running this restaurant someday.
Yeah, actually, they contact me today.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, because that's definitely a place, and they actually have a association, like a structure, like it's Couturier.
Yeah.
It's the name of their Facebook, Instagram page to advertise all the social events they do, and it's always free what they do. I think.
Yeah, it's always.
And I mean,
they do vegan food. Very good food.
Like very, very much reduced price for students. And that's.
Just be careful if you're allergic to peanuts because they like to put them everywhere. So every Friday is peanuts lasagna, so it's forbidden for me, for instance.
Famous lasagna. But yeah, I mean, I'm an old school person, so I would just say go to bars and coffee places. And
that's probably my. I like. You know what? I'm gonna tell you. I went to Dynamo.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of like release stress. Like I go somewhere and I'm just in the middle of the dance floor with a lot of people. Even if I'm alone or whatever with friends, you don't have to necessarily be dancing with somebody, but just in the middle, huddled people dancing, good vibes. So I would strongly recommend that too, because I'm old school too.
Yeah, and we have one of our former guests here, Robert, from many episodes ago, who does.
Who is the crazy dancer of Dynamo?
Yeah, he now does DJ sessions in Dynamo. I think tonight they do, but this episode will be released much later.
For people who are listening this still in the beginning of October, I will say that actually Robert is going to direct with Turku together a political discussion on the 20th of October. So if you want to hear about specialists in politics, there will be also like people coming from like the... how do you say, like under the mayors, like around the administration.
The under-mayor, the sub-mayor.
The sub-mayor. I don't remember. I think it's like the vice mayor or something like this who is joining this discussion. And Robert is graduating from international politics, from what I understood, and he specializes on the far right in Finland. Yeah. So it's going to be a very interesting discussion that I recommend to all of you. Let's say a small word of conclusion.
Okay.
Keep your friends close to you
and your enemy closer.
And go out to all the events we mentioned, and go to meet new people.
And be gentle with yourself.
Yeah, don't
Yes.
Be
beat yourself
kind to
up.
yourself.
Yeah, because
Life is hard.
yeah, and
Life is
we
hard.
speak as if it was easy to go out and meet people, but when you're shy and you're not a social person, it
And
feel-
it's dark.
it feels like it's extra hard, like you're never gonna make it.
And
But-
like a colossal effort. It's
yeah,
just- yeah.
but so don't beat yourself up if you are not able to go to that party, or if you're too shy to talk to this person at the bar. It's fine. Keep on
Also-
trying.
yeah.
Keep on trying, and
Yeah.
it eventually it will happen, because sometimes Finns, unlike what you've heard, they can be surprisingly social when you're
I don't
in.
I don't agree with
When they are
that the whole
drunk.
they're shy. Like whenever I walk down the street,
Yeah.
Elderly people,
Yeah,
they're like,
elderly.
"Huomenta."
Yeah, exactly.
And they go off on a whole tirade, and I'm just like, yo,
Yeah.
yo, you know,
Like
I
the
don't wanna,
elderly,
I
like-
don't have the heart to tell them that I don't speak Finnish, because they talk to me for a little while, then they're on their way,
Yeah.
and they always surprise me. Finnish people always surprise me. They always
Yeah,
talk.
this is amazing. Or,
They
or,
talk
or like
a lot.
Or like in the public sauna, you go to the public sauna, you will start to have retired people talking to you.
They do. The older people are definitely a little more like, you know, like I've already done the thing.
Yeah.
I'm retired now. I
They
I
don't
don't care.
care. They
I don't
don't
care if you like me or not. I'm going to tell you about my daughter's college career. And
Exactly.
you're not going to understand anything.
So our recommendation: go to the elderly house.
Meet the elderly.
Yes, please. That's very
Yeah.
important.
But thank you for listening for today's episode, and we will try to release one episode a week if we manage. Fingers crossed. Let's see what happens. But it was
And
a pleasure to
just a
discuss with you, and Simon, go.
Yeah, just a little mention that this episode should be released on Tuesday, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and since we were talking about mental health earlier,
yeah.
Thursday is actually the International Mental Health Day.
Oh, I see.
Like
10th of October.
10th of October, yeah, decided by World Health Organization. So I imagine you can probably find some extra resources in that.
At
like,
the university also.
Yeah,
Okay.
on that day. So you have to listen to this episode the day it comes out.
Okay. And thank you, Jimmy, for joining.
Oh my God, it was such a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me. Lots of fun.
Wonderful, yeah.
Perfect.
Really chill vibe here.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Radio Turku. Suomen Turku.